Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about cloud optimization. And we're going to come up to you, Nick, and talk about cloud optimization, IT modernization at Pure Storage. And we call it Pure Storage, but we know it's way bigger than that, right, Nick?
Right. It's one of those unfortunate misnomers. You have to name your company something, but the truth of the matter is we've really always focused on data services, data management, and delivering efficiency, performance, and modernization in a sustainable fashion for our customers. And that continues to be our focus. This year, we've launched a couple of different products that are effectively doubling the data density of systems, which has the effect of not only reducing floor space by somewhere on the upwards of 50 to 90%, depending on which platform, but that also has the effect of driving down energy consumption in the data service arena by upwards of 90%. So we're building the technology necessary to affect data center optimization by creating the world's most dense, power efficient, high performance data service capabilities. And that's providing our customers and the government with seamless, scalable, sustainable data mobility and management across all their environments, on-premises, cloud, managed service providers. We're giving them the capability to modernize their environments to sustainable platforms that can be consumed using OpEx rather than CapEx dollars. So getting the control and agility of on-premises infrastructure with the cloud cost model, but also the flexibility to move that data to shared service providers in other environments seamlessly and transparently. So as I said, that's reduced floor space by about 96%, power consumption by 85%, and satisfying cooling and e-waste disposal requirements by orders of magnitude over legacy technologies. And what we expect to do this year is, again, double the capacity of the storage technologies that we build in order to deliver these capabilities to the government. So that's, fundamental transformations in both technology as well as environmental impact and financial models for delivering service to customers have really been at the forefront of our transformation efforts in helping our customers achieve their overarching strategic data goals.
And we certainly do appreciate that. And I know these agencies really appreciate having a denser footprint at less costs and certainly good for the environment. What's not to love there? So hats off to Pure Storage being a solid partner in regards to that. Lamont, we can't do all this unless we have the speeds and feeds and everything else associated to that. Tell us about the state of state from where Verizon sits and webbing all this together for us, so to speak.
Yeah, no, thanks, Luke. Yeah, this is a great opportunity because it gives the agencies the ability to start going and looking at how do they start modernizing a lot of their enterprise, because to be able to get to all these different connect all these different services out in the cloud, they've got to make sure that they have the right infrastructure to be able to connect to get to any of the cloud providers, any of the data centers, to be able to make sure that they have access to all the data and applications that they need to support the mission. So, I mean, a lot of the focus that we're seeing right now and the great opportunity for us is to partner with all of our government friends here to make sure that they have the right speeds and feeds to be able to get to, AWS's, the Microsofts, the Googles, to be able to get to that data. But then also realize that there's a sprawl of this data and this information that's going out further towards the edge, and to be able to bring connectivity out to the computing edge, edge computing services, to be able to then realize some of these next, things of technology for VR, AR, VR, for drones, for mission that needs to be done in the field. These are still part of what would be that larger data center and cloud footprint that we're providing that connectivity to. So we're seeing a great opportunity to be able to help bring the agencies looking at their entire enterprise, looking at how they modernize that, how they get connectivity, have that connectivity to multiple providers, to be able to have that choice, to be able to deliver their data out to their end users and constituents. So that's where we're seeing a lot of the efforts and partnerships with the government.
And we appreciate the big pipes for the big data and the getting close to zero latency on the 5G capabilities, which just unlocks a whole new level of applications and capability for these operators. We're going to switch over and we're going to start talking about specific program. Dr. Lucas, we're going to start with you. You top-lined a lot of different things that are going on over at the department. We'd like you to focus on one program that you've been able to get over the fence, so to speak, and highlight that for the community here.
Yes, sir. Luke, over the last several years, we've been committed in investing in the optimization of access to resources in the various locations by improving and optimizing our network resources, which has provided the necessary foundation for optimizing our access to the resources in the hybrid compute environment I mentioned previously, which includes commercial cloud service provider environments. Luke, we implemented a DHS cloud access point on the East Coast to provide direct high-speed fiber network access to cloud service providers, virtually a zero-hop solution. And we're currently implementing a second cloud access point on the West Coast to improve redundancy and availability for all of the critical missions that the Department of Homeland Security supports for the taxpayer, with an estimated completion during the summer of this year. Look, this work optimizes our enterprise network by providing direct access at the edge of our wide area network, eliminating additional network latency you previously stated, thus improving our access, user experience, and the performance of applications and systems in the cloud environments. Within the network architecture, we're implementing modern software-defined network systems that are virtualized, reducing the physical footprint of previous hardware and providing elasticity to add and reduce network functions for customers as needed. We're also leveraging network function virtualization as a part of the implementation that has allowed us to minimize the physical footprint in co-location facilities, thus reducing hosting costs while increasing functionality, throughput, and overall capacity of the network systems. Additionally, we've also migrated to a cloud-based VPN system that incorporates the functionality of the trusted internet connection requirements and allows for direct internet access from field locations, while also allowing for internal network access without the risk of DDoS attacks affecting the systems. This modernized network system architecture is being deployed with zero trust and microsegmentation in mind, and that provides a more secure network architecture. Next, we've also deployed a cloud native zero trust access service, Luke, in AWS and Azure GovCloud environments that's providing fast and secure app to app and app to internet connections across multi and hybrid cloud environments. That allows applications to use the service locally instead of using our network infrastructure when it's needed. And then finally, we're constantly researching the modern network solutions to improve access, minimize latency, and improve security for our critical applications and systems we have in the cloud.
That's a handful there, and I love the simplification of the architecture, getting rid of the good old hairpin debacle that many of us were in years ago. And as they like to say, the best part is no part, right?
Yeah.
Michelle, let's roll over to you and talk about a specific program. I would imagine that NetApps is probably used in all of these agencies, certainly used in the majority of them. Tell us about a specific program you'd like to highlight.
Yeah, sure thing. Let me just pick on one that is a government organization responsible to support local and international warfighting and disaster relief, soon to be released publicly. But they had three problems they were trying to solve, or three problem areas they were trying to solve. It's technical. They couldn't complete replications due to software incompatibilities. It would time out, and they couldn't set up their continuity of operations in order to meet the recovery point objectives. They also had software that was out of date and security issues going throughout their organization, right? And they just didn't have the money to be able to modernize because their funding comes from various disparate sources. So collecting it from all the different sources and bringing it together to be able to do capital purchases and upgrade all at once was just a little bit more than they could take on. So second problem was funding, and the third problem was manpower. And, how do you go across? Because they had to have multiple locations. They couldn't consolidate any more than their 60 locations that they have. So how do they get the manpower to do this, how to fund and be able to do the upgrades that they needed? So what we were able to work with them on is implement a consumption-based model, a very flexible one that allows them, whether they want to deploy monthly or on an annual basis, to be able to set themselves up so they could modernize the infrastructure that they needed, reduce the security vulnerabilities, get the performance that they needed, upgrade everything across all the 60 sites. And be able to do that and all while moving to a much more flexible cost model so that they didn't have to have the funds up front, that they can pay for it out of their operational budget. So we implemented this solution. We were able to migrate all of their data with zero data loss, and more importantly, with zero interruption of service, right? Because we were able to come in and work with them to do it across their locations. And now where they've ended up is that they've got the infrastructure in place. Instead of having to go through a procurement every time that they need additional capacity, they can just submit a change order and start utilizing that capacity that's there and available for them, right? So it gives them a very cloud-like environment, but having modernized across their complex organization and environment. So
love the zero transition, or love the transition with zero downtime. I'm sure they appreciated that, and we do too. That's an interesting factoid and a very important one. Tom, I'm going to roll up to you. We love the fact that you drank your own home brew years ago and implemented a lot of these capabilities that you then, as an agency, came out and set the direction for across the interagency. Give us an example of a specific program you'd like to highlight.
So I'm happy that I'm joining this panel with Bill Hunt. We passed each other in the hallway as I arrived at GSA, and he left me with a Cloud Smart policy or strategy document. And we've seen a lot of successes from multiple agencies when it comes to data center and cloud optimization programs. Because my team sits at the government-wide level within GSA, we have a really good access into all of the data center practitioners and cloud practitioners at the agency level. And we get a good sense of how successful data center and cloud optimization programs work for agencies. And here's what we're seeing for a successful agency implementation of an IT modernization program. And it's the adoption of co-location. Dr. Lucas mentioned this, that he closed his data center and moved into colo or cloud. Bill Hunt and SEC utilizes this strategically. And the fact that he knows, he referenced 10% of his inventory is in the cloud. The fact that he knows what his full inventory is a huge success.
Good catch.
Co-location can save a lot of money for agencies, all the while reducing the risk for the mission. Agencies have to be careful about vendor lock-in and rising prices, but co-location can really reduce operational costs, help with the moving sustainability environments, and move closer to the cloud and hybrid environments. A focus on portfolio management requires agencies to identify what applications are running in their data centers and facilitate further consolidation and optimization. And it requires agencies to identify costs that aren't necessarily known today, like the edge computing in a downtown building or network it relies on, the labor to maintain both the IT and the facilities to house that IT, and adopting a strategic approach to moving to the cloud. We've developed a cloud strategy guide to assist the developing agencies a strategy for successful cloud adoption. And in it, we cover major topics to consider in your cloud strategy, including current state assessments, business value to consider, risk frameworks, and other elements of the toolkit. We had agency participation, and those that adopt this type of approach tend to have more success in this area. And establishing a cloud center of excellence or an enterprise management team. Agencies should create a group of functional experts to drive the strategic adoption of cloud services within their organization. And this team champions the cloud transformation process, provides guidance to the transition, supports employee reskilling and training, and essentially is the central point for all organizational cloud efforts.
Really do appreciate the extended efforts there. Lamont, how about at Verizon? Give us a specific program you'd like to top line.
So a couple of things that we're working on right now with, you heard it earlier, it was like we talked about the network functional virtualization and moving things with SD-WAN so that people can then understand how to manage the performance of their applications. So we're working with a couple agencies on how do we then start bringing in the network and pulling that more, because that's becoming more part of the cloud infrastructure to be able to support the movement of these applications and the data. And then on top of that, we're also working with some agencies on, as was mentioned by Bill earlier, with like some of the advanced comms and the contact center stuff, and moving those into the cloud now today to make sure that we're able to then realize the economies of scale to be able to then scale up and scale down these services quickly and on demand, so that then, you know, the constituents are able to then work with all the end users and all the folks out in the field to be able to deliver the services, you know, take these calls in from Social Security, to be able to then take calls in for taxes, to be able to help make sure that we're working and getting that all the money flowing through the government today. So we're working to make sure that that's happening with all the agencies. But a lot of that is really trying to make sure that that network, that underlying network, the infrastructure is there to be able to support, whether it's from the Ethernet services, and make sure that's modernized to be there, leveraging all the wireless capabilities, the 4G, 5G, to make sure that we have the connectivity out to those end user devices. And then those are all able to be seen across that landscape and environment for the network to the cloud to the data centers, regardless of where they sit that data.
Fantastic, and we really do appreciate it. Bill, you were just called out there on your 10% capability as far as your transition so far. Give us an example, if you will, that you'd like to highlight in your tenure over there at the SEC.
Sure, absolutely. So thanks, Tom, for the kind words. I appreciate the shout out there. I'll say we've really got a bunch of unique opportunities being at the SEC. We are, of course, as I mentioned, a small agency. But the other thing that makes us unique is that we are a financial regulator, which means we get special pay and incentives. The other thing that we have that's special is, as a result, we hire a lot of superior expertise into our organization. Having that higher pay cap gives us the ability to get some of the best of the best. We also have a CIO and a CISO that really get it. Like, they really get it and aren't afraid of change. And that is so unique at a federal agency. I've been at a few. That is a very, very special thing. So as a result, as part of the Cloud Center of Excellence that we've stood up, we've been able to build from scratch a new cloud infrastructure team. And it is mind-bogglingly great. The team is just top-notch. It's like watching one of those superhero team-up montages as this has been coming together. Just the best of the best from private sector across government, being able to hire those folks in and really build an entirely greenfield program team up from scratch. I've done that a lot in the private sector. This is the first time I've seen it done in the public sector. It's very rare that you get to build something from scratch like this. And the results have been amazing. We're embracing all of these great buzzwords that everybody's been talking about: zero trust, infrastructure as code, a customer experience, all of those things baked in from day one into this new team, which has just been fantastic. And when I say things like we're doing customer experience, I don't mean, we're putting a sticker on it and doing feedback surveys. We're doing human-centered design. We have directly responsible individuals who are working directly with the customers to make sure that the needs are being fulfilled and that we're meeting them exactly where they are, working on developer experience, all of those sorts of things, so that rather than just trying to shove applications with your incumbent vendors into the cloud, you're really learning the lessons of how to be great at cloud and doing that upskilling as you go, which again is relatively unique rather than just, here you go, here's a cloud, go figure it out. That's been a really exciting opportunity for us and has just been amazing for our throughput. It's really improved the ability of the agency to deliver on its mission. So it's been really an incredible ride watching that come together.
Sometimes starting with a fresh piece of paper has a lot of advantages to it as you incorporate all these lessons learned, et cetera. We really do appreciate all the activity going on over there. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network.